What if some of the most dangerous operations in modern history weren't carried out by criminals, but by governments? What if secret programs ran for years, manipulating weather, spying on citizens, destroying political movements, all without public approval, and without you ever knowing? These weren't conspiracy theories. They were classified operations, hidden behind locked doors, buried in sealed documents, and only revealed by accidents, whistleblowers, or illegal break-ins. From illegal domestic spying, to psychological warfare against American citizens, to weaponizing the weather itself. These are real programs that were never meant to see the light of day, and today, we're exposing them. This is the dark, hidden world of secret government operations. Welcome to the truth they tried to bury. This hidden project was later identified as Operation Gladio. On the surface, it existed as a defensive safety measure, but behind the scenes, evidence shows it was also used to manipulate politics, eliminate opponents, and disrupt leftist movements in Europe. These units were reportedly linked to violent attacks, intimidation campaigns, and staged incidents meant to shift public opinion. Support was provided to radical anti-communist groups, some of which were connected to criminal actions, including unlawful detentions and executions. A notable case includes an assassination connected to Portuguese intelligence in the late 1960s. The program was initially managed under a European military organization created in the late 1940s and later supported through NATO and American intelligence services, working together with multiple European agencies. Everything remained hidden until 1990, when the Italian Prime Minister publicly exposed the program's existence. He revealed that secret weapons stockpiles had been placed across the country and named hundreds of individuals involved. Following this shocking admission, European institutions criticized the operation. Still, only a few countries carried out real investigations. American officials avoided addressing the situation directly. Years later, official statements insisted that Gladio had purely defensive purposes and denied any connection to terrorism or illegal activity. The Iran-Contra Scandal. During the early 1980s, a major political controversy quietly unfolded inside the United States government. High-ranking figures arranged for weapons to be sold to Iran in complete secrecy. This was especially illegal because the U.S. had already banned all arms sales to Iran after American citizens were taken hostage in 1979. The justification given was that the weapons could help free American prisoners being held in Lebanon by an extremist organization with connections to Iran. The idea was introduced by an exile arms dealer who convinced officials that Iran could influence the captors. At the same time, the money earned from these hidden weapon sales was redirected to support rebel fighters in Nicaragua who were trying to overthrow the government. These fighters were known for brutal methods, and Congress had already prohibited any further funding for them. By moving the money around official budgets, the administration continued financing them anyway. In 1986, a member of Iran's security forces leaked information to a magazine which exposed the operation. International headlines soon followed. The president appeared on television to confirm the weapons transfers, but denied agreeing to trade guns for hostages. A later crash of a weapons-carrying aircraft over Nicaragua revealed more evidence, and the surviving crew member claimed ties to American intelligence. As investigations began, important files mysteriously vanished or were destroyed. In 1987, the president addressed the country again, admitting responsibility and stating that what was meant to be a strategic move had become a serious mistake. Operation Condor. In South America during the 1970s and early 1980s, several authoritarian regimes formed an international alliance aimed at eliminating political opposition. This campaign targeted activists, students, union leaders, and anyone suspected of left-wing beliefs. Although officially denied, the United States is believed to have financially and logistically backed the operation. Other countries also allegedly supported it in hidden ways. The alliance was created during a secret meeting in Chile, organized by the head of the country's intelligence service. Later, additional nations joined the program. This operation became infamous for its horrifying execution methods. Victims were drugged and thrown from aircraft into the ocean or remote regions where their bodies would never be found. Because of the secrecy, the true death toll remains uncertain. Estimates range in the tens of thousands, with Argentina believed to have suffered the most. Intelligence agencies later tried to justify the program as a fight against terrorism. In reality, historians argue that the resistance movements were never powerful enough to be real threats. Declassified documents from the 1990s revealed that American officials had knowledge of these brutal acts and still allowed them to continue. When a communist government took control of Afghanistan in the late 1970s, the CIA launched one of its most expensive covert missions ever. The goal was to support extremist fighters opposing the new regime and the later Soviet invasion. This secret mission, named Operation Cyclone, funneled billions of dollars and weapons to the resistance over more than a decade. At first, the defense equipment supplied was foreign-made to hide American involvement. Countries such as Israel and Egypt played a key role in transferring old weapons. By the mid-1980s, the program openly provided advanced missile systems that allowed fighters to destroy Soviet aircraft. This dramatically changed the balance in the war. American politicians and intelligence officers oversaw the operation, while Pakistan's Secret Service controlled distribution, training, and funding paths to the fighters. Even after the Soviets left Afghanistan, the weapons and money continued flowing, eventually contributing to years of civil war that destabilized the entire region. Operation Mockingbird. In the early Cold War years, the U.S. intelligence community launched a hidden effort to influence the media. This program allegedly recruited journalists, editors, and leaders of major publications to help shape public opinion through controlled narratives. Its goal was not just to influence Americans, but to spread pro-government messages worldwide. A Senate investigation in the 1970s confirmed secret relationships between the CIA and members of the press, although specific names were not revealed at first. Later, an investigative reporter claimed that hundreds of media workers secretly worked for the agency. Some of the biggest names in journalism were reportedly involved. Foreign news offices of major outlets also served as intelligence tools. While the government never officially admitted the program, many believe this is why mistrust in mainstream news exists today. Operation LAC. In the 1950s, fearing a biological attack, the U.S. military secretly conducted experiments on its own population. Special aircraft released fine chemical particles into the sky to test how far diseases could spread through the air. These particles were tracked across massive distances, even into Canada and the Gulf of Mexico. Long-distance flight paths were used to measure the reach of these materials over cities, farms, and neighborhoods. Thousands of pounds of these substances were released during numerous missions. Many people later claimed that this exposure caused long-term illness. Despite these concerns, the government announced that the chemicals were harmless. Even today, this operation remains heavily criticized as unethical, due to the fact that citizens were never informed or asked for consent. Although officials later downplayed the dangers, the use of zinc-cadmium sulfide remained a subject of controversy for decades. Environmental groups and activists argued that the government had conducted large-scale tests on unaware citizens without consent. These secret experiments contributed to growing public distrust once they were revealed. Even though official reports claimed the chemical concentrations were harmless, many residents believed these airborne tests were unethical and dangerous. This operation is now viewed as one of the clearest examples of how Cold War paranoia led governments to cross serious ethical boundaries in the name of national security. Next, there's COINTELPRO, short for Counterintelligence Program. This was a series of covert and illegal operations carried out by the FBI between 1956 and 1971. Its purpose was to secretly watch, infiltrate, weaken, and destroy political organizations that authorities considered a threat to the existing power structure. Targets of this program were not limited to one ideology. It included civil rights leaders, feminist groups, anti-Vietnam War activists, the Communist Party USA, and black empowerment movements such as the Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, and even Martin Luther King Jr. himself. Puerto Rican independence groups like the Young Lords were also monitored, and interestingly, even extremist groups like the Ku Klux Klan were at times placed under surveillance. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover personally authorized many of these operations and instructed agents to expose, destabilize, mislead, and neutralize the leadership of these groups. Even more alarming, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy initially approved limited wiretaps on Dr. King. Hoover later expanded this surveillance, granting agents nearly unrestricted access to investigate every part of his personal and private life. This program remained hidden from the public until March 8, 1971, when a group calling themselves the Citizens Commission to Investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania. They stole classified documents and leaked them to journalists. Their break-in happened on the same night as the highly anticipated Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier boxing match, which conveniently diverted national attention. At first, most media outlets refused to publish the material. Only the Washington Post took the risk. After verifying the documents, they released the story despite government pressure to keep it quiet. Within a year, Hoover announced that centralized COINTELPRO operations had officially ended, and future intelligence activities would require stricter oversight. Another hidden operation was Operation Popeye, a classified U.S. Air Force program during the Vietnam War, running from 1967 to 1972. Its objective was to manipulate the weather using cloud seeding technology. By increasing rainfall over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the U.S. hoped to extend monsoon conditions by 30 to 45 days. The goal was to flood roads, trigger landslides, wash away river crossings, and slow down enemy supply routes used by the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces moving through Laos and Cambodia. These weather modification missions were secretly launched from bases in Thailand. It is believed that the operation was supported by Henry Kissinger and elements of the CIA, and conducted without proper authorization from the Secretary of Defense at the time. Meanwhile, government officials publicly denied that any such environmental warfare existed. The program first entered the public eye when journalist Jack Anderson reported on it in 1971, and later when its name appeared in the leaked Pentagon papers, which were released to the media by whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg. These documents exposed years of hidden decisions made during the Vietnam War. Operation Popeye became one of the first known examples of weaponized weather modification in warfare. Project Minaret was a covert domestic surveillance program executed by the National Security Agency, NSA, during the 1960s and early 1970s. Its mission was to intercept communications involving specific American citizens and share the information with other government agencies. Originally starting in 1962, the program focused on Americans who traveled to Cuba. Over time, it expanded to include suspected drug traffickers. Later, under Presidents Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon, the watch list grew to include anti-war activists, civil rights leaders, journalists, and even U.S. senators. By the end of the program, surveillance lists reportedly included over 5,900 foreign individuals, nearly 1,700 organizations, more than 1,600 American citizens. Between 1967 and 1973, the NSA produced nearly 4,000 intelligence reports based on this surveillance, without judicial approval. There were no warrants, no oversight, and no legal framework authorizing this domestic spying. In 1975, NSA Director Lou Allen admitted the program's existence to a Senate committee. A later Justice Department review determined that multiple wiretapping laws had been violated and concluded that this wasn't just an agency failure. It was a decades-long failure of oversight by both Congress and multiple presidents. Out of this scandal came new legislation. In 1978, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, was created, establishing a legal process for intelligence agencies to obtain warrants and be reviewed by special courts. Later, U.S. Signal Intelligence Directive 18 added further internal restrictions to prevent similar abuse in the future. If programs and operations like these could run in total secrecy for years, without public knowledge or legal approval, then the real question becomes, how many more operations are happening right now, hidden behind classified documents and national security? History doesn't repeat itself loudly. It repeats itself quietly, in sealed files, blacked out pages, and unanswered questions. And the scariest part isn't what we just uncovered, it's what we still don't know. If this video made you question what you've been told, then it did its job. Now I want to hear from you. Which secret operation should I expose next? Or which topics would you like us to cover? Leave it in the comments. If you enjoy uncovering hidden history, forbidden stories, and classified operations, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Because the more eyes that watch, the harder the truth is to bury. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious.